right, so next, this is probably new to you guys. This was presented in the 2017 webinar, and actually it's something we use in the CMO forum and out west. And actually, this is pretty cool. We're working on something that's going to be fun. Breaking down a little bit marketing, because again, going back to the structure, even if we drill down further from the ecosystem, what we really want to be able to evaluate with them is what are the competencies that they really need. Here is a list, and on the left are, this is our belief of the core disciplines. Next to that are the competencies that are underneath each of those disciplines. Strategy, you really need to have customer marketing, market intelligence, and go-to-market. To the right of that are the processes that really should be involved in each of, and also in that discipline. To the right of that are the functions that typically might be involved. So this is an aspect of what is shifting is your strategy groups occur because the CMO is involved in greater forms of alignment internally, and they need greater go-to-market. Aspect of where are you getting your strategy input from? It's a discipline that needs to think about where they're going to put it. Below that, you see portfolio, which is really looking at the competencies of product, solution, industry, audience. There was a huge discussion with the CMOs, struggling with who owns it, how do I do it, and the conclusion was, appropriately, my product marketers don't know how to do it. Product marketing is somewhat challenged a little bit in what they do. Again, this is identifying those competencies, and to the right of that are core processes that we have. You might see that they look familiar in that they are also processes that we have. The reason that this is important, I won't go through the full list, is that it's a way of saying, how do I determine what competencies I need in marketing? This holistically are all the different disciplines you need and the competencies. What we're doing with this is we're building a view of this by revenue band. So, 5 bands that we track. Correct. And then we're going to eventually have the client actually go through a rating system. The reason for that is that could really dictate your marketing ecosystem. This is actually, we've gotten great feedback on this because it's a way for the client to take a step back and say, I have 2 conclusions. One, I need to think through what those disciplines are, but that's only part of the equation. I do need to think about them. They might have, yeah, I've got the competency of solution marketing in my there's this discipline you call portfolio, but I don't have, however, the processes of a PMM model. I don't have may not have a good interlock process, which is integrate competency that you're trying to put in. Really kind of looking, if you're going to look at this complete ecosystem, they need to really.
Just a comment on that as well in the discussion yesterday. Challenge is the traditional thinking of organizational boxes. The strategy is in a lot of places. So part of look at what competencies you need, and they can reside. So that's probably coming back to the opening slide about.
When we share this with lunch, there's 3 ahas. One is, okay, now I have something that's once. Second is the processes that makes them think through that. Third, that's a little bit different, is delivery. You really need to, you're suddenly publisher they are, and they should Today, it's the web, how they are, managing mobile is coming down the path. Device that will access the internet will not. Marketers, when you say, well, this is the first place we're going to read content, are we optimized for it? Who has that skill? Where's that delivery skill? That was also some interesting discussion.
With some of the other industries like manufacturing and financial, you could argue that the marketing function is fairly nascent. How would you use this chart to help them?
It's a good question. I'd say that it's a great discussion point to say, look, here is a competency alignment chart we all can see. The question would be, what is right for you? So as an example, this morning I got off the phone with Fisher, a medical device. They're building a demand center. They call it, digital shared services, but they're recognizing that they have to have this center of excellence to move the organization. So they would look at this and say, I get it, but I'm really scared and confused. That to me would be how you would potentially look at that from that discussion.
Any other questions?
Questions, comments?
Role the agency in all this. I don't see agency on that. I'm an agency does, have these. Coach that.
Yeah, you'd really be identifying which of those competencies. I would argue that, for some decision that they're making, and that would be reflective in their ecosystem. But this is really not necessarily saying, although I actually.
One of the conversations that takes you to is the core competencies and the things that are most essential to the marketing.
What would we deem those? Obviously, strategy, portfolio. You're
Yeah, a little bit of operations.
fun statement there, because my view is you should be doing more of this stuff internally, but as this is becoming more integrated into the whole organization, your responsibility. So if you just rely on an agency, you're losing, your competitive advantage down there.
I would say our observation as a best practice is that you're definitely going to see more agencies. Marketers are. However, it doesn't mean you can acquiesce that competency to an agency. You still, therefore, you use an agency to scale. I would want to have, like, a good example would be marketing automation. I think we're going to internally, you need an agency perhaps to accelerate that, but you're then going to need agencies in which maybe to scale. Capacity to take on the volume and get globally, and I don't have those skills.
Righty.
How new is this model, John?
Pardon me?
How new is this?
This is a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's new.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of other goodies underneath it. Really didn't include this. We could send it. Or, circle. That's a really interesting one because that's really a good view for the scene. their executives on it. Yeah, you saw yesterday.
It's actually a,
Answers the question for the CMO, what do I do? You know, I tell my boss what it is I do. Here's the picture. And their direct reports asked me to come down to talk about the role of the CMO. And the question was, they just fired their CMO, and the question was, why do I need a CMO? It's like, really? Okay, let's make this really simple. And it was a great dialogue to have with them because it was simple. Great for the CMO because they can start to think about
You have the deck that you used yesterday, is that?
yeah, should be nice.
Great.